Hey yo man, it's Bates the Great Reactor here, and we are back again. And today we are going to be reacting to the saltiest bowl game in college football history. Now, what I'm expecting in this video, I'm expecting, of course, there's a lot of toxicity, a lot of controversy, a rivalry built and beef between, these two teams, either before the game or before the game, during the game, after, but a lot of buzz about this game. So, yes, I'm very intrigued about this video. So, without further ado, let's get into this reaction in 3, 2, 1.
We are nearing the end of the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl. Referees are holding back South Carolina coach Shane Beamer. Illinois' head coach is jawing from across the field at him. He seems to be T-posing at Shane Beamer while checking on his player. What is going on? What happened and how did we get here?
I don't even know what that is.
To understand the saltiest, pettiest bowl game I've ever seen,
bro, this is like John Harbaugh and Mike Vrabel getting into it. Bro, remember that? This reminds me of that. Kind of reminds me of John Harbaugh and Mike Vrabel getting into it. This was pre-game though, because Titans players were dancing on the Ravens logo. John Harbaugh going over and arguing John with Mike Vrabel, and it's disrespectful. And which, granted, it is disrespectful to dance on, but yeah, and dude saying, just coach the game. I mean, people don't act like coaches can't lose their cool too with the other coach. It's not just the players. That was crazy. That game was something out of the ordinary.
And to begin, let's take a look at South Carolina's head coach, Shane Beamer, because there was a lot of frustration building into this game. South Carolina opened their season by barely beating Old Dominion, as this CUSA team went into an SEC team's home opener and made the Gamecocks offense look completely flaccid, as they even held the lead at one point in the fourth quarter, and if it wasn't for a fluke fumble at the 4-yard line, giving the ball back to the Gamecocks in striking distance to just squeeze out the win before going to Kentucky and having a smooth sailing 31-6 victory. It was after this game, though, that we would start to see the theme of this video, and that was South Carolina getting screwed. Now, this game was filled with ref ball, regardless, with there being 22 penalties in a 60-minute affair. But holy hell was South Carolina the ones getting screwed the most. They opened up by jumping out to a 17-0 lead, thanks to a blocked punt, some good defense, before slowly but surely that lead would start to be chipped away. LSU put together a big drive, forced a fumble, and kicked a field goal to suddenly be within one score. And after more scores by LSU and South Carolina, in the final drive of the half, their star quarterback Sellers goes down with an ankle injury, just to make the second half that much harder to navigate for the Gamecocks. But that second half, that second half, 3rd and 10 throwing into the end zone, pass interference. They hold off with a big goal line stand, but their offense was hamstringed now and had to punt, giving the Tigers great field position, which was quickly turned into a score. 2 minutes and 22 seconds left, 2nd and 4. Pass interference number 2, and suddenly LSU had the first lead of the day. That wouldn't last long, as South Carolina found a huge crease for a 66-yard gain, where even on that big score, the 2-point conversion was broken up by an offensive lineman, allegedly going too far downfield, drawing another penalty, even though when we look at the freeze frame, you don't really see it. Do get that attempt called back, and then the second attempt was no good. Things looked like they were going great and were about to even get better when, on a drive that was set way back by an offensive pass interference call against South Carolina, they get strip sacked in easy scoring range.
This game was
LSU was
crazy, I'm not gonna lie.
They get a pick six to set them up 2 scores ahead, but there was a flag on that play for an alleged unnecessary roughness, despite the fact that it was a relatively tame hit to keep them from being up 11 points and putting them back at the 10-yard line where their offense was already struggling. So they're forced to punt, LSU gets the ball and scores to go up 3, and even after all of this, South Carolina gets into field goal range to tie it up, and the kick is missed. Now, I'm not saying the calls were all wrong, but it is, without a doubt, an extremely frustrating ways to lose, and even the announcers ended the game saying something along the lines of it being a very controversial game with refs playing a huge role. But they got to take their frustration out on Akron before getting another frustrating game against Ole Miss that had turnovers, 4th down failed conversions, a missed field goal, and the general vibe that despite a lopsided 27-3 score, they felt like they should have been able to compete in that game a bit more. But at their biggest test of the season coming up with Alabama coming to them, and oh man, if you were an Alabama fan, this game took a minimum of 3 years off your life, and if you're a South Carolina fan, it took 12. I mean, you had safeties, Alabama giving the ball back to the Gamecocks with a second left in the half to get them a field goal where they took the lead, then fumbled it away on a fake handoff of all things to give Bama the ball in scoring range, then drove and missed a go-ahead field goal before Alabama scored with less than 2 minutes left, made it seem like the game was over, but South Carolina brought it within 2, and my God, they got the onside kick back with 40 seconds, and then what the hell was that play? Regardless of if you were sitting on your couch and didn't move a muscle, you burn more calories than if you went and ran a mile, regardless of which side you were on, with South Carolina now sitting at a depressing 3-3. But they would then go on an absolute tear, not losing another game, and going into Death Valley to take on Clemson, who was seen to be one of the better teams in the country, and playing their heart out to win by 3, while banging the drum alongside Ole Miss and Alabama that one of these 3 teams should be the 5th SEC team to make it to the playoffs, with South Carolina arguably having the best case, only losing to strong teams with their loss to LSU having a big gaping asterisk beside it. But the committee decided against it, with Clemson making it in over the team that just beat them at home, and South Carolina was now off.
Nah, this was crazy though, bro. Nah, there should have been a 5th SEC team in there, bro. Like, arguably it should have been Alabama, but at the very least it should have been South Carolina. Like, bro, they, like he said, bro, they went on a tear to close out the season. They started a mediocre 3-3, but then went 6-0 down the stretch. Like, and Clemson, bro, you know, they let them get in, bro, which basically got beat the brakes off of by Texas. Like, come on, bro. Like, I think it should have been either Alabama or South Carolina, like, who should have been another, a 5th SEC team to get into the playoffs.
To face Illinois, who was in a different but strikingly similar position. Yes, they were also 9-3, but 2 of those losses also came from 2 playoff teams, opposed to 2 slightly above the pack middle SEC teams, with them having one more embarrassing loss to the Golden Gophers, with their last 2 drives ending with turnover on downs and a fumble in the red zone, just 8 points away from tying it up. But that's the Big Ten though, getting less babying by the media, so they did no such pouting about missing the playoffs and just prepared for their bowl game where, boy howdy, people were really looking forward to see how all these whining SEC teams would look in their bowl games. And to start off, well, they only went 50% in the opening week of the college football playoff, with Texas hanging on to beat Clemson in a deceptively unclose final score of 38-24. But then their 4th team to make it in, Tennessee, got absolutely
annihilated
in a deceptively close 32-17 game. Yeah, you heard me. That was deceptively close. And then it started happening. The on-the-cusp SEC teams began falling. First, it was Oklahoma with a 1-point loss to Navy in their bowl game. Then, Texas A&M had a 4-point loss to USC before their bell cow of Alabama suffered an embarrassing 6-point loss to Michigan. This was like D-Day mixed with Pearl Harbor for SEC homers. And
bro, this is like freaking music to Big Ten. This is like music to Big Ten football fans' ears, bro. Like, oh my God. Like, look at this, bro. Tennessee getting annihilated by Ohio State. Ohio State beating Texas. Michigan beating Alabama in the bowl game, bro. Like, oh my God. Like, this is literally music to their ears, bro. Like, golly.
Now it was South Carolina's time to take on Illinois with all this pressure, and it starts off like a perfectly crafted Shane Beamer nightmare scenario. From play number 1, South Carolina shifts a full 5 guys.
You want to know what my say is, though? Because personally, I don't even have a college football team. I just watch, the games that are on. But I'm going to be honest, bro. For me personally, I have a little bit of a hot take. I think that with this whole 12-team playoff bracket and more teams getting an opportunity, and instead of just the 4 teams every year, I think that the Big Ten is going to start taking over college football. I really do. I really do, bro. Like, I think the Big Ten might just very well start to take over college football, man.
The kickoff unit and proceeded to drop kick the ball to throw off the Fighting Illini as Beamer ball was in full swing. And during that play, there was already a flag as ref ball was in full go. A few plays later, Illinois was forced to punt, and during that, one of their players leveled the returner, but it was determined that he was blocked into the player. But it's just more fuel to the frustration fire. The Gamecocks would put together a solid field goal drive before another ticky-tack pass interference against the Gamecocks set up the Illini to be at first and goal, but the frustrations would go both ways because as they attempted to drive it in, the ball gets allegedly jarred free, and the fact that there's no good camera angle to prove it, and if anything, nobody really in the announcing booth believed that it was a fumble, gave South Carolina the ball back as it seemed like bad calls were just going back and forth between the teams and making sure that both coaches were fired up and on
I don't know.
It was also getting to the announcing booth as with still 5 minutes left in the first quarter when they got called on a delay of game against the Gamecocks for allegedly using disconcerting signals. People were starting to get really frustrated. A few plays later, a shift by a defensive lineman caused the offensive line to jump as the flags just kept pouring in, and even players were starting to get chippy with each other. Even on a play with no flag, Shane was absolutely fuming at the refs, and we've yet to leave the first quarter of this game, but the quarter ends with a frustrating, long and painful Big Ten West style 11-play 66-yard drive with the tension between teams and players rising until South Carolina's answering drive. We got the first of a new theme. South Carolina on 1st and 10 had to do a late substitution, and Illinois, seeing the play clock winding down, decided to substitute rather slowly, forcing the Gamecocks to blow a timeout, further infuriating Shane Beamer still less than halfway into this game, even further exacerbated.
Yo, I ain't gonna lie, that is a you know what move, bro. Like, oh my God, bro, they gotta take that away, bro, because I think that happened in the Big 12 title game between Texas and Oklahoma State back in 2023. They played the Big 12 championship, and there was a play where Oklahoma State made a late substitution, and they were taking their sweet time, and because as the rules are, you have to wait for the opposing team to make their substitutions before you can snap the ball. Well, yeah, the Oklahoma State took their sweet time, substituting, and so Texas got a delay of game. Like, bro, I hate that junk, bro. Like, and the thing is, bro, it's crazy how more teams don't do it. I guess they understand how cowardly of a move that would be. All right, but it's crazy, bro. They need to take that out, bro. Like, that's unfair. That literally plays to the defensive team's advantage, bro. Like, bro, you can't
by
just...
a fourth down muddle huddle fake field goal attempt as Kai throws the ball maybe
like,
a hair short as the pass is broken up, meaning that long and arduous drive down the field resulted in South Carolina still being down 4 points. Even after forcing the Illinois punt, they drive the long length of the field to end the half in field goal range with a field goal that was missed. It was a frustrating, referee-heavy first half where the score still set 3-7, but we still have the heated half left. Immediately, Illinois opens up the half with an onside kick, just antagonizing the Gamecocks even though they didn't get the ball back. But the defense tightened up to justify the decision with a big 3-and-out, being forced to punt it back. And then, despite still having slower substitutions, the Gamecocks finally find the end zone and regain the lead. But unfortunately, the only thing worse than not having the lead is having it and then losing it. So they pick off the Illini, fumble it back, and 9 frustrating plays later, and the lead was once again gone, which is especially salty against a death-by-paper cup type offense that Illinois was running. But in an attempt to swing the momentum back in his favor, Shane Beamer did the unthinkable. You see, there's an arm movement that players do when they plan on not returning it or let the ball go over their head, where they simply hold their arms out, signaling to their own team that they don't intend on returning it, so don't...
Yo, wait a minute. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't even paying attention, but was South Carolina the one who got hoed? Somebody let me know in the comments below. But was it South Carolina who got hoed with that, like whole slow substitution that caused a delay of game? And this is like their get back here. Oh, this is funny. They're about to do a fake fair catch, and then they're about to return it. Then they're about to actually just run it out and return it.
Injure yourself by blocking, but Shane used it as a ruse. The ball was thrown back to Harbor and he picked up 25 yards. Now, some would say that this play was executed in poor taste, using a fake signal that's only used to keep players healthy to disguise a fake return is something that's dubious at best and amoral at worst, and you can guess which side Brett Belima was on in this debate. So after he gets his one back by forcing a delay of game with a slow substitution, the play after, a couple plays further in, and
y'all are okay. This is getting y'all are just being. This is the most saltiest, pettiest bowl game in college football, bro. Oh my God, y'all are just
was down near the opposing sideline. And he took this opportunity to let out some of that frustration he was feeling. As he checks on his guy, he walks away, staring down Shane Beamer and holding out his arms to mock him. And this moment is when all the frustration that from the entire season for Shane was finally let out as he snaps. Because while Brett later cleared up that he was referring to the trick play from a couple minutes earlier, it also looked a lot like a substitution signal. The signal that had been plaguing Shane all game, and even 2 plays after that, at the 1 yard line, the Gamecocks tried to substitute late once again, but the Illini...
Nah, bro, it's coaches like this, bro, that need to be... It's coaches like this, bro, that need to be out of the league, bro. This is so unprofessional, bro. This is so unprofessional. This is so petty, dog. Like, why can't we just play the game, bro? Why can't we just play the game instead of all this petty crap going on, bro? Just play the game, bro, instead of all this freaking shenanigans, bro. Like, this is...
Sideline slowly but surely trots on a new crop of defensive linemen to force the Gamecocks to use another timeout. As we cut to both head coaches, Shane is fuming, Brett is laughing, and the pettiness meter is at an all-time high. This 14-10 Cheez-Its Bowl had the stadium rocking. Fans were ready to fight each other. A few plays later, and now Illinois shift causes USC to jump, but that wouldn't stop them from scoring for long. But things were just absolutely popping off.
Bro,
as 12 plays after that, Illinois finds the end zone after a long 7-minute drive. Where now, on South Carolina's final drive, they take it. People are salty, and on 4th and 4, the game on the line. Lenore Sellers drops back, finds his receiver wide open, but ends up instead ending the saltiest bowl game, maybe of all time.
And Illinois takes over on down.
That's tough. All that just for the quarterback to throw errant throw that was thrown a little behind his receiver. That sucks.
Well, I think you could see my my whole intel on that game. Like, bro, that is gross behavior. I ain't gonna lie, bro. Like, bro, this, at the end of the day, bro, in the words of Mike Mitchell, a former Pittsburgh Steeler, this is, at the end of the day, this is football. This is football. Like, bro, just play the game, bro. Coach the game. As Mike Vrabel said, just coach the game. Alright, bro, why we gotta do this pettiness crap, bro? This knick-knack paddywhack crap, bro, with the pettiness, bro. Like, from the other coach for Illinois doing that freaking, slow substitutions to force South Carolina to either have a delay of game or force them to have to call a timeout. Like, man, bro, that is such pettiness, dog. That is like, man, forget the saltiest game in college football. This was the most pettiest bowl game in college football history, bro. Oh my God, like, bro, get these dudes out. Get these dudes. Like, they're thinking emotionally instead of just like keeping us cool and just keeping it business. Like, come on, man. Like, bruh, I know it's by any means necessary, but so, whatever that people do sometimes, but I'm sorry. And like I said, that needs to be taken out, bro. You cannot be allowed to do a substitution, a late substitution, and freaking got guys running in and out slow as molasses out there, just so you can force them to have a delay of game or force them to have to waste a timeout. Alright? Like, that is just, oh my God, bruh. Please leave, and if you got to this point of the video, like, leave a comment down below, like, your take on all this, because this is ridiculous. I am so glad I watched that video and got to see that, because I would have had no idea. Like, I didn't even know, like, I watched a few bowl games this past year, but I never watched that one. Granted, I never even heard about it. Crazy. But with that being said, like I said, like, subscribe, especially if you're new, because we try to make videos like this every single day. And this has been Bates, the Great Reactor, and that is it.